And it says the lovely creepy voice recording now in progress. I'm gonna hand it to Sid.
Okay, welcome everyone to the high school league kickoff meeting. Um, let's get into it. First, we're gonna introduce ourselves, same team as last year. My name is Sydney Friedman, and I'll be commissioning. Here's my email under my name here, but also the email that reaches all of us. And then I'm gonna let Nadith and Sam introduce themselves as well.
Cool, thanks, Sydney. I'm Nadith, and I'm Deputy Commissioner for the second year running, and I'm really looking forward to working with everybody this year.
Hi, folks. I am Sam, they, them pronouns. I act as a league administrator. I am also DiscNY's youth programs coordinator, so you might hear other things from me as well. But yeah, I mostly deal with some back end stuff while these folks deal with a bunch of front end.
Give you some tech talk. Okay, so let's go over our agenda for tonight. We're going to talk about the feedback that we have so far from last year. We're going to talk about the administrative and league timelines that we have that are going to go on from it starts today up until when the league actually starts in March. We have some registration reminders, medical forms, and sanctioned practices. We'll talk about the league rules and reminders and also about our what we're going to be doing with jerseys this year and our Discraft DiscNY partnership and a bonus at the end. So our feedback so far. Things that are going to be staying the same as last year. Our overall game format and length is going to stay the same. Standard USAU rules. We're going to stick with the same scheduling model that we did last year. So that was kind of hybrid where we started scheduling for you all and then had teams kind of help with the rest, and we're going to keep with that model for this year. We're going to stay with the same score reporting model. We want to get both the games and the spirit scores as soon as the game ends. So if we can encourage our players, our coaches, volunteers to be reporting those scores as soon as the game ends, that really helps us out. And then we're going to stay with the same loose uniform guidelines that we had last year. And the things that are changing, our spirit score model is going to be changing a bit. We're shifting from a 20-point model with 5 categories to a 12-point model with 3 categories. And we'll be sharing those exactly how they are later on. We're going to stay in line with the USAU practices. There's a new model for colleges and clubs, and team distribution between Club A and Club B is also going to be changing. For a scheduling balance, we're not going to be maintaining the 11-team division. We're capping the divisions at 10. And we're asking certain Club B teams to move to A this year based on results from last year. Okay, and then these are kind of questions we have that are still up in the air that our team is going to be solidifying in the next few weeks. So potentially staying the same. Number of teams that qualify for the playoffs. The playoff tournament format that we'll get into in a couple of slides. And the minimum spirit score average required to qualify for playoffs. So those are potentially going to stay the same. Potentially changing the season format and length. I know we got some feedback that we wanted a longer season. We're still talking about that. And games per week could potentially be changing, and we might be allowing 3 games. And may allow, yeah, 3 games across the board without. So yeah. And then we also are talking about dangerous play workshop requirement for team leadership. This was based on requests and feedback from previous years. It may not change this year, but it's definitely something that we're we have our eye on and are desiring for moving forward. And yeah, moving into our timelines. So what's happening from now until the start of the season? This is the administrative timeline. On January 1st is when registration is going to open on USAU and Ultimate Central. February 12th is when that registration is going to close. On February 19th, we're going to have the initial invoices go out to the team, and March 3rd is when we want those final team rosters due so we can adjust the invoices. For March 7th, when our final adjusted invoices will go out, and we'll require the medical forms. Those will be due on Google Drive. And then March 10th, we begin our regular season. The next timeline we have for you is the scheduling and deadlines timeline. So today, December 12th, it's December 12th today, yeah? Yes. The scheduling preferences form has gone live. By February 12th, we want that scheduling preference form to close. The form will go out. I'm just reading Sam's message. The form will go out in the meeting recap. Just, yeah, for everyone. February 17th, draft schedules will be sent to team admins. And from between February 19th and February 26th, we'll be scheduling meetings division-based, just like we did last year, with separating Division A, B, and Interscholastic and GX. And then February 28th, we'll be finalizing those schedules and posting them. And again, March 10th, we begin our regular season. So that takes us to this overall, what I was saying before of like things that may change the length of our season. We were looking at permits and talking about our playoff. And I know that we all know that last year it was difficult with the playoffs being on Mother's Day weekend. Unfortunately, that's the only time that we have permits. So that will stay this year as well. And yeah, we'll have 9 weeks of our season, and we have a little overview of the season on the other side.
I will also just jump in and say some of these dates are still tentative. We have not firmly heard back from Parks yet. The May 11th date, there's an asterisk there because we need to look at final feedback as it comes in, and if we're going to run that playoff tournament, that is when it will be, which is why there's that asterisk next to May 9th as well. If we do not run that playoff tournament, the season might extend another week or so to allow time to play out all the games.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Oh, and then this is me, I think. Cool. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the game where you don't want me chasing you down by email. Registration, as Sid mentioned, opens on January 1st. Bless you, Joe. It is the same fees as last year. There is just the asterisk that we noticed that we lost a good chunk of income last year just based on transaction fees. So you are responsible for those. We were kind of iffy with whether or not teams were responsible for them last year coming through PayPal. But if you are the only team from your school, you pay $300 as league dues. If there are multiple teams at your school, each additional team is responsible for $200 of league dues. We can split that, right? If you have 2 teams at your school and you need to invoice that it's $250 and $250, that's something we can easily do. But your total dues are $500. If there's 3 teams at your school, which I think are 1 or 2 cases throughout the league, that total becomes, I'm bad at math, 700, and it can be split however you need between those teams. Every player and coach and chaperone in the league is required to have a USA Ultimate membership. Everyone can have that $20 DiscNY affiliate membership. You can sign up for those through USA Ultimate, or although I think they're taking the sign up for affiliate memberships off of Ultimate Central this year. So that's a $2 increase from last year just based on what USAU hands us. You can also have that full $45 youth membership as a player. Um, if you are going to out-of-state events, you do need that. New this year, if States is still hosted by Albany Ultimate, which we anticipated that it will be, you do not need that youth membership or the full youth membership for States. You can use your affiliate because that is hosted by an affiliate of USA Ultimate. That's a new thing they've dropped this year. So if you're a team that just does the league and States, you can stick with that affiliate membership. The note here is that affiliate memberships are free for BIPOC players. There's no questions asked there. That's something you can elect to do through USA Ultimate. There's an option there directly for that. We can collect payment one of three ways. We can go by check, which is the easiest way if you want to avoid any registration fees and if you're dealing with a whole bunch of school processing. Checks can be cut to DiscNY Inc. and mailed. We'll send you this as an email and a Google Doc reference, but it goes to our bookkeeper, RJ, in Long Island. We can accept via PayPal. There's a processing fee there. We ask that you do not PayPal until you get an invoice from us because we're trying to make sure that the processing fees are accurate. And you can pay by credit card. That's just during your registration on Ultimate Central, which is our hosting platform for DiscNY.org. Same as last year. Once again, medical forms are a requirement for all athletes under 18. The annoying thing that I have to say to you all is that we're not allowed to hold on to them past the end of the league. So I know everyone did these last year. I legally had to delete those at the end of last season. So if you have the same files and you have the same players, you're welcome to resubmit them as long as your chaperones are the same. But I don't have anything on file, so I'm going to have to chase you down again about it. You'll get a folder, and we'll be in contact with just who's missing those and who needs them. Anyone 18 or over by the start of the league, March 10th, does not need one. We can sanction your practices. Just as the league is a sanctioned event through USA Ultimate, it comes with insurance. DiscNY can sanction your practices or your scrimmages. All you have to do is let us know and we can get you into that event as well. So hsleague@discny.org is the easiest way to do that. That goes to all of us. If you have specific questions about any of these registration things or the rostering process, you can reach out to me, hsadmin@discny.org, and you'll get lots of lovely emails from me detailing about how this works. And I'm going to hand it to Nadith.
All right, thanks, Sam. So as Sam mentioned, I will be going over the rules. So you can go to the next slide. All right, so our rules for 2025 are going to be very similar to 2024 with a few key updates. Our very notable changes are going to be an updated spirit scoring system, clarified forfeit rules around tiebreakers, and then also clarified rules about games left unplayed. This document will be published before the holidays, and anybody can access it on our website whenever it does come out. As always, if you contact this email, you'll be able to ask us any questions you may have. But these next few slides will give a few more details. So for the basics, I think most of you probably already know this. We'll get into game length rules. So our standard game length is going to be a score cap of 15, and we have a soft cap of 90 minutes and a hard cap of 105 minutes. So if you don't reach that score cap of 15, by the time it reaches 105 minutes, your game is going to be over anyway. For shortened game length, you're going to have a score cap of 13 with a soft cap of 75 minutes and a hard cap of 90 minutes. Your halftime cap for these shortened games is going to be 40 minutes with a little bit shorter halftime at 7 minutes. With all this being said, we still have the captain's clause, like alterations that captains and coaches can come to agreements of if both sides agree. And this is just to adjust rules at game time for competitive fairness. For example, one rule that captains and coaches might agree on both sides is that we don't allow, you might not want to allow zone defense or foot blocks in a B division game. But, keep the rules reasonable and both teams have to agree. So our free agent policy this year is not completely hammered out. However, we're going to rework the policy to more directly align with USAU's youth guidelines, which is a theme you're going to see with Sydney's talk earlier and then also with this rule. But with that being said, this policy will not apply to the GX division in its current state. What we do know so far is that this policy will be very similar to what neighboring states have in Connecticut and some of our surrounding states for this free agent issue. For folks who play for a different high school, based on the previous policy in previous years, you'll be allowed to continue with the previous policy for the remainder of your high school eligibility. But we still have to be notified on a year-to-year basis. And so I really want to harp on this one. So this is for our spirit scores and our spirit reminder. So the DiscNY High School League is a no spiking league, as with all of the youth leagues. And all of our teams must participate in the spirit scoring throughout the season. So as Sydney had mentioned earlier, we're moving to a more updated 12-point spirit score system with 3 categories and 0 to 4 in each. And teams are encouraged, not required, to have spirit captains, but the encourage is highly encouraged. And post-game spirit circles between teams are also encouraged, but also not required. But just an extra note on this page, we expect everybody to be respectful. It makes it a lot easier for you, and it makes it a lot easier for us. So, go into your games with respect and treat everybody with respect when you're at the games and practices. Moving on to score reporting and spirit score reporting. So for score reporting, for both of these, really, it's very important. Following the conclusion of a game, the coaches should check in to confirm that they have the same score tally. Once those scores have been confirmed between the 2 teams, one representative from each team must fill out the game score reporting form. So that means both teams have to have a representative reporting the score. And we'd prefer if you guys did this before you leave the field, because that kind of makes sure that the score will actually be reported. To clarify how important this is to us, these scores will not be considered reported unless both teams report them. So we really want both teams to report them. And teams should note in their score report if anything came up during the game, like altered length or whatever the captain's clause alterations entail. For spirit score reporting, following the conclusion of a game, it's very similar to the score reporting. Captains from both teams, or spirit captains from both teams, should check in to discuss the game overall. After this discussion, a rep from each team must fill out the spirit score reporting form, and we also want you to do this before you leave the field. And very similar, policies with the spirit score as a score report. We're not going to consider them unless both teams report them. All right, next slide, Sam. All right, so now getting into our DH Ultimate partnership. So we had this last year as well, and this is our 2nd year running. So for those of you who don't know or are not familiar with this company, DH Ultimate is a really well-recognized ultimate frisbee apparel company. It's actually the official jersey supplier for a bunch of really high-profile teams like Brown, which won the national championship a few years back, the Chicago Nemesis, and even a few national teams. So our partnership this year, very similar to last year. HSL teams can order a full kit, which is 2 short sleeve jerseys plus shorts. One is light, one is dark, for about $75 a kit this year. I want to stress that this is a really great option for all of us who want to maintain a budget, because for the same quality and the same pieces that you get here, you'd have to pay probably upwards of $120, $130 from most other jersey companies. So we're getting this package for a significant discount compared to many other suppliers. 4 of our teams use this partnership in 2024, and we expect a few more teams to join this year. These are some of the pictures from last year. This is Beacon with their. You actually got 2 examples here. You got the dark jersey and the light jersey, Joe wearing the light jersey. And then this is our Club GX Style team, who also ordered through DH Ultimate last year. Contact this email if you're interested, and our order deadline this year is January 17th, which means we'll receive jerseys by mid-March. And yeah, please contact us if you are interested here. So next page. This is the pricing for each individual piece. So as you can see, what we talked about before with the short sleeve jerseys, it's $24.50 per jersey. And so if you multiply that by 2 and then add in the shorts, that gets you to $75. So there's also a couple extras this year with the reversible tank at $36 and then the sun hoodie at $36. So you can add those as like one-off additions to your orders. So here's some of the notes for the order. This discount only applies to orders organized through the HSL. So what we'll be doing is to make sure that DH Ultimate knows that the order is coming from you. We'll organize email chains with team leadership and DH like double DH Ultimate reps, and teams will take it from there. So you'll pretty much take control after that email chain is created. For the design process, designers from DH will work with individual teams to create final jersey designs. I think everybody was super happy with the creative guidance of the design folks last year because the jerseys turned out super well. So this process should go pretty well for everyone. For delivery, like I said before, it'll be delivered mid-March. And each team's jerseys will be delivered in like a bulk package to each team. And your team will provide the addresses that the jerseys are sent to. For delivery fees, DH does not charge any delivery fees. The pricing on the previous slide is all inclusive. So for the kit, it's about $75 a kit. And that's all you're going to pay. There's no delivery fees.
Cool. The other one here that I'm going to plug is DiscNY's partnership with Discraft. This is something we started last year. So it really means two things. DiscNY and anyone in our community can really get good discounts on high quality stuff. Alexa, I'm going to pin that and come back to that for Q&A. So you can get misprint discs through DiscNY. These are just discs that either a company ordered and decided they didn't want, or there was a small printing default, or defect. Disc is unaffected. Those are $5 per plus the price of shipping. Typically, I believe Discraft charges between $8 and $10 per misprint disc as a baseline. You get those for much less, and there's no minimum or maximum order there. We had these on site for the playoff tournament last year. I think we sold close to 40. They make great practice discs. If you're running low on those, you're starting to warp or crack, scratch, whatever. We can also do custom discs for 25% off what you would get as a USAU member. So just as a baseline, the typical disc order is a 1 or 2 color hot stamp, where typically those are about $7 a disc. We can get those for just over 5. You have to order stuff through DiscNY, but that's for both hot stamp discs. That's for full color, super color discs. We have a pricing menu in an order form that folks can look through. Everyone here qualifies for that youth tier. We price into youth, college, and adult based on just what folks are generally able to budget for. You have to order it through DiscNY, similar to the Jersey partnership. And if you're doing that super color process, you do have to put a small Discraft logo on there. That's a stipulation of the partnership that we had to sign. We can give you graphic design help if that's something that you're interested in, or just vectorizing files, that kind of thing. That's a $20 an hour charge. Discraft charges $40 an hour for that. And any proceeds from this partnership goes straight back into usually DiscNY youth programs, especially our scholarship things, offsetting our pay what you can funds. So if you're looking for discs that you want to sell for your program, discs that you want to beef up your practice bag with, let us know. And that is discs@discny.org. There's info about it on our Instagram as well. Homework time. Nearly the end.
Okay, nearly the end, everyone. So everyone's homework. Number 1, get us your updated contact information, please. We have a Google form that has already been sent out. And you can email us. And next, we would love your feedback. So we'll have this feedback form sent in our follow-up. But just any feedback you have from last year, we're still collecting. Next is that we're getting ready to register for the league. So there's 2 links there, one for USAU and the other one for Ultimate Central. And then the last bit of homework is that we want you to fill out scheduling preferences. So all of these things, like I talked about earlier on this meeting, in the timelines, these are 4 things to keep your eyes on.
And then the reminders here. We're going to have another one of these meetings in January. We're going to expand on things that we sort of touched on this meeting. We'll have finalized feedback. We will have those finalized rules and finalized free agent process. That is something that I've been chatting with Adam Stern about. and how we're applying it potentially differently between the league and states. We have already put on the calendar dates for scheduling meetings to avoid that kind of mishigas of last minute scheduling. If you're in the interscholastic division, it is February 19th. It'll be on a Zoom. We will send reminders out for this. If you're in the Club GX division, that's going to be February 24th, Club B on the 25th, and Club A on the 26th. To the best of my understanding, these fall within dates that schools are in session. I know we're dealing with the midwinter recess for public schools there, so we're trying to schedule around that. If you're practicing over the winter, we can sanction your practices starting January 1st. Let us know. And the bonus, oh no, where did I put it? Wait a minute, there's supposed to be another slide here. Please hold. There we go. 2 QR codes that you can scan right here, right now. One of them is an invite to the DiscNY Slack space. We have a high school league channel in there, which I really strongly encourage folks to join. It's a much easier way to track people down quickly than trying to rely on email. That's the one on the left that looks like Slack colors. The one on the right is a scheduling preferences form. We're going to send it out after this meeting as soon as everything uploads. If you want to take your peek at it now, you can scan it. I would have added more, but they take up a lot of real estate and time. So I'm going to leave this up for a minute, and then we're going to go into Q&A. But we're very excited for the new season of the league and to implement feedback based on what we've gotten and to hopefully have a smoother ride through some stuff. Our permits are already mostly submitted. We should have those much earlier this year, which means everything stays on track. Yeah. 5 more seconds, I'm leaving these QR codes up, and then we're going to move along. 4, 3, 2, 1, surprise. The other little surprise thing is just a try you update, and this is me as the youth programs coordinator. We had a successful season in 2024. We went back to YCCs for the first time since 2019. We're really excited to be running again in 2025. Lily Eisner and I will be taking point on that again. We're looking for coaches. If you are interested in coaching youth club this summer, there is an application form that went to you. Please feel free to spread it to other folks you know. We love getting folks in who are connected to the high school community. We trust you all as coaches and leaders to know who is a good fit. We are running winter clinics, which are going to start in January and run through February. Those are being organized by some of our Tri-U coaches, and we are expecting some club and pro guests as coaches as those. There will be more details on who's eligible for those and what the pricing point is. We're finalizing that in the next couple of weeks. Tryouts are starting in March and April this year. And then it's a similar schedule to 2024, where we're really starting in earnest in June, and then through the first weekend of August. So planting the seeds now. We're really excited, and we'd love to have you all be a part of it. Mason, 1 second. Okay, Mason, go ahead. This time I meant 1 second, literally.
No, sorry. No, yeah, I just wanted to say this isn't a question actually. This is not even an answer. But it's Brooklyn Tech is we're hosting our 3rd annual Midwinter Hat Tournament on December 30th. So if anyone wanted to go to that, we're open to all college and high school players. So if you wanted to go, it's on USA Ultimate. So just a little plug. This is a really great meeting. Thank you so much.
Yeah. We had a question come through earlier, just the role of spirit captains. I know Sid addressed it. Spirit captains are another form of leadership. I've heard them described as that you have your field captains for on-field leadership, you have your spirit captains for sort of off-field leadership, things like dynamics, things like keeping your team sort of on track with the different parts of spirit and with just honestly general vibes. We don't require them as a league, highly encourage them. However, we have resources we can send if that's interesting for you. And then Alexa's question, Nadith, I don't know if you're able to know if you know the answer here. Are folks able to pay a lower kit price if they don't want the shorts? Or is it
Yeah, the honest answer here is I actually don't know. I know for a fact that, the jersey kit is at those price points. When you start mixing and matching things, I'm not entirely sure. I'll contact DH Ultimate tonight to figure out. I know certain
If it was
uh
like last year, you should probably be fine. This
yeah,
is an extension of last year's partnership.
yeah. I know there are certain like they make exceptions. So for example, if there's like a few rows on your order that don't want all the items, they don't really care about that. Um, but I'll verify and send out an email about that question.
Yeah. Todd, go ahead.
Sure. I'm not sure if I've already missed it that the preferences are out there, and I'll put this in I think I've already put this in the HSL reaction. One of the things that we experienced last year, in addition to, liking the scheduling, was that we had problems because many of the fields were really far away from us. And my sense is that you guys have a limited amount of fields that you can actually pick from. So I'm just wondering how that's going this year. Because in the GX League, they're all sort of centered either in Lower Manhattan or sort of close to there, but many of our fields were in the northernmost reaches of Manhattan. And I assume that's because just the field you could get, but I wonder if you could sort of talk about what the situation's going to be like this year.
Sure. Some of that was based on what permits we were able to get when scheduling was happening, and that missed nearly all of our Manhattan stuff. So those Riverside fields, anything on Randall's Island, sort of between a bunch of our schools. As far as I'm aware, all of our permit renewal requests, save for a couple, actually went in about 6 hours ago. So I don't know exactly. We can apply for extensions of permits that we already have. And we can apply for new stuff as well, especially to replace stuff that we lose. So we know that Red Hook is under construction. We know that Prospect Park Field 4 is really not an option to play on. And we know that Inwood Hill Park, based on feedback from last year, is on a slant and full of bricks. Um, so we do what we can when we submit to work around that and try and get replacements for it. But at minimum, we get what we can. And I think Colin's going to address this as well in a moment, to renew everything that's on file and fill gaps where we need to. But yeah, Colin, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just to add to that, if there's ever a wish list of fields that folks have for pretty much anything, just to email fields@DiscNY. There is a lot changing with the Parks Department. Notably, I don't know how much this affects youth permits, to be perfectly honest, but in the adult realm, there's a lot of like capping renewable hours. So a lot of organizations are going to lose like time that they've globbed up from others. And so there might be a lot back on the menu. So there is more opportunity this year just at large to apply for things we haven't gotten in the past. So again, if there's a wish list, if there's fields you want us to be looking at for anything and everything, fields@DiscNY is where you can submit that.
If it's specific to the high school league, I will just add that please CC high school league so that we have a hand in it as well. None of us, I believe, have access to that field's email address yet. But Colin is correct. There's a lot of restructuring there. There's a whole new set of guidelines in terms of who's eligible to renew, how many renewable hours are allowed. Non-for-profit youth orgs are unaffected by it. So we get to continue paying nothing for permits and we get to continue renewing as much as we need on a season by season basis. But a lot of for-profit organizations and adults organizations are limited based on what they can renew. Aaron, sanction practices. So our league is sanctioned through USA Ultimate. That means there is insurance coverage directly through DiscNY and USA Ultimate, in case something happens here. So if you want your practices to also be sanctioned and insured in that way, we're happy to accommodate that. There are no administrative differences for mixed teams. Our open divisions are typically where mixed teams are allowed to play. Any athletes are in there. We don't have a true mixed division. That's something that I'm working towards in the next few years, hopefully looking at a potential fall mixed league, but that's another discussion. So there are no administrative differences there. We do still try to get Brooklyn Bridge Park permits. They are separate. They're a separate entity, and they've provided us with a lot of challenges in the past few months, especially on our adult end. They have not been responsive. So I know that those permits were filed a couple of weeks ago, and that we have things in place to make sure that we are able to get the permits when we need, because it limits the programs we're able to run if we do not have those permits. But yes, Brooklyn Bridge Park is something we look at. We look through the Hudson River Parks Trust, although they're less generous sometimes. And a majority of our stuff comes directly through the Parks Department. While we let a couple other questions percolate if there are, I also just want to address a couple of things that we've seen in our feedback forum, which Sid touched on earlier. Obviously, it's an anonymous forum if people choose to, and we do highly encourage people to give us feedback. We have gotten a couple of responses that are very targeted and very, the language in them is phrased as attacks. And I would encourage everyone to remember that the three of us are volunteers. We donate our time to do this, and as do many of you as coaches. But this is a high school Frisbee league. It is not that serious. And the one specific piece of feedback I will point to and just address is that we got a request that was anonymous, or a tip is the wrong word. There was a request to redefine the Club GX division as a cisgender girls only division, and sort of just to nip it in the bud, not going to happen. It's a very disheartening thing to read, given that two of us who run this league are trans, and that DiscNY is very clear about our policies and our beliefs. We are in no way redefining our divisions. That's not something that is up for discussion. It goes directly contrary to our policies, to the New York City and State Department of Education policies, and to USA Ultimate Policy. That's our national governing body. I do not know who submitted this feedback. In theory, I know that what their role in the league was last year, if they were being honest when they filled out that form. And I would very honestly welcome discussion with that person about why we define things the way we do and why we allow people to compete in the way that they do. And if anyone has questions about that, please feel free to reach out. But yeah, there's a feedback form about the form of the league and the way we do the rules, not about people's identities. Thank you so very much. I'll get off my soapbox. Cool. If there aren't any lingering questions, there's no such thing as a dumb question. I really don't believe in them. Doug Randall's Island fields are on the table. We're renewing as much as we have from last year, and we're looking at trying to fill in the gaps that were added between 23 and 24. We know that we will get, if anything, we will get them all earlier because permits have been submitted earlier this year. I can't promise that stuff will be added, but we are doing our best to make sure that we have as complete a permit list as possible.
So I coach at a 6 through 12 school with a high school team, but no middle school team. And I got an email from a parent of an 8th grader who's wondering about playing opportunities. I was wondering if you have policy about letting 8th graders participate in the high school league, or anything about the middle school league free agent policy.
Is this the middle school league through Manhattan Youth, the MSAL?
I don't know anything about the middle school league. It's just
Okay.
I'm trying to find a place for this 8th grader to play, whether that's on the team that I coach or on an actual middle school team for a different school.
Typically, I believe we have allowed 8th graders to participate at the coach's discretion. I don't know if that's in the current edition of the rules, but that is something that we're looking at specific to that free agent policy, and because USAU has certain provisions about it. But typically what USAU allows is for 7th and 8th graders to participate in their feeder high school's team, as long as they have permission from the coach and the parents.
Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Mhm. Amoeba dance while people think about questions. Okay. Please always feel free to reach out to us by email. If questions come up after this, we're going to send out both a recap of this meeting, the slides from this meeting, the scheduling survey, another link to Slack, and the recording of this meeting will be posted, and I will send that link as well. But thank you so much. You're more than welcome to your 45 minutes back. We try to schedule for extra time just in case Q&As go long through their technical difficulties. But yeah, we will see you all in January back here in the Zoom room. And if you have any questions, concerns, let us know. Otherwise, you'll get updates by email and by Slack when you join, not if you join. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank